All right, so we are all gassed up and Burger Kinged up and ready to go to Sweet Home Alabama. Alabama! Even though my new adopted home state of Tennessee, the Vols, just beat the Crimson Tide. Hopefully they'll let me in to Alabama, to Birmingham, to meet Robert McCammon, or Bobby Mack. I call him Bobby Mack. Well, instead of getting here at 2 or 2:30 for the 3 o'clock Robert McCammon event, we got here at 1. Partly because I break the law when I drive. I go real fast, but if you're from in law enforcement, then I did the limit the entire way. And secondly, because I didn't realize Birmingham is in the Central Time Zone, and I drove from the Eastern Time Zone, so we gained an hour. So me and the boy, who has graciously agreed to sit upstairs and wait for the event to begin for 2 hours. We're going to sit upstairs and wait. And apparently Robert McCammon is going to do his talk. He's going to speak. And then he's going to sign. I can't wait. I'm giddy. I'm giddy. What's really cool about all the books at Alabama Booksmith is they're signed. Every book you see is signed, and they're available at the published price, except for the books in what they call the collector's corner. Those are a little pricier. This is the room upstairs at Alabama Booksmith where Robert McCammon would speak. When I got there, it was empty, but by the time he was done, it was standing room only. So one of the benefits of getting your time zones mixed up is that you get to go to events super early, and you get to be a guest speaker for just 15 minutes at the same microphone Robert McCammon will be speaking at. It's kind of special to just steal a moment like that. I also stole an hour of Tim's time from It's Terrific, great YouTube channel. Go check it out. We sat and we talked. We both brought some of our offspring, and they chatted about video games. It was awesome. It was great meeting Tim. And then Robert McCammon got up there. This is a shot I took right from where I sat. I was in the first row, and it was tremendous. I was right there when he was talking, and he read a little bit from King of Shadows, and then he took questions, and it was an hour that went by way too fast. What an incredible guy. If you want to see that video, I'll try to link to it in the description, but it was posted. Then, of course, we all went downstairs for the very civil, wonderful book signing. We all behaved ourselves. So what you're about to see is the part where I actually get to meet and talk with Robert McCammon. I'm leaving the whole thing in there unedited, even though it makes me look like a complete jackass. Although I will say every video on this channel serves that purpose as well. But I'm leaving it in there because he shares some things, some insights about what he thinks of things, what he thinks of sequels, what he thinks of Lavidian, Brian James Freeman, and so I thought it was worthwhile as words from the master. But ignore me. I'm super nervous. I'm super clumsy. Looks like I interrupt him, you know. As I was watching it back, I was just cringing so hardcore. So I hope this shows what a selfless human being I am, that I would put content out there that makes me look bad, just so you can get those nuggets from Robert McCammon.
Right, yeah. Okay. Just sign?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Are you from here?
No, well, we were from Chicago originally.
Oh, yes.
We moved to where did we move to? I don't even remember. Chattanooga. So we drove down.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm stretching my son's patience.
That's not too far.
No,
That's
no.
What, an hour and a half or two? Or
2 hours and 45 minutes.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Chattanooga's a cool place.
It's awesome.
There's
And
a lot going on.
I had to come here.
And it's a secret place because a lot of people don't know much about it. They don't know what's going on there. There's a lot going on.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it reminds me, it's like a very magical city coming from Chicago. It is like what Chicago used to be before it became really crazy.
Crazy.
Did you want to sign your story or the
Does it matter?
signature sheet?
It doesn't really matter. What do you want me to do?
If you could do the signature sheet.
Okay. Just right here?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
sure. Yeah.
I'm so glad you're with Levidian. I got the limited King of Shadows at home, and
Okay. Yeah,
I bought one here.
yeah, Brian does a great job. They're beautiful books, and you know everything about them is really nice. Okay, yeah, got this going on here. That's good. Is this Levine? Is this Levine? This
No,
is
that's
Cemetery
17
Days.
Days.
Okay.
That was an
Okay.
anthology.
So you collect a lot.
Yeah,
You do?
yeah. And this is the book I had when I was 15.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
I'm like, I have got to get
Okay.
this one signed.
Okay.
It'll have nothing on the special edition that's coming out in April, but I'm going to get that one too, for sure. But
You know, it should have some additional content, shouldn't it? But it doesn't.
what else could you
I was
do?
not
There's nothing else you could do other than set it
somebody
up,
said,
introduce
you
it.
know, somebody said I should do a sequel to that. How would you do it? See, I never really liked a sequel. I don't really consider the Matthew series to be a series of sequels because it's an ongoing story.
No, it's one big story.
It's an
Right,
ongoing story.
right.
But I never really liked the idea of sequels because you're setting yourself, I think, a failure.
Yeah.
Because you know, you do the best you can do with the original, and then so if somebody wants more, no, it's not really going to work.
Right,
It's not really
right.
gonna work. Because your heart is in the original. Your heart may not be in the sequel.
Right.
So.
Can I get a picture?
Yeah. Right.
And here's the picture he graciously agreed to take with such a buffoon. Seriously, what an idiot I was. What also wasn't shown in this video was that I knocked over a ton of books in the collector's corner section. They're most expensive books. I also met a ton of other great people that I've met only previously on social media. The guy all the way to the left, Hunter Goatley, is basically a Robert McCammon expert, the most expert you're ever going to want to meet on Robert McCammon issues. He's all over forums and social media, and he's the go-to guy. Thrill meeting him, and Tony Thomas in the middle there, and Stevie Pickles, who I didn't photograph with because I'm a nut, I'm a noob. I don't do these things thoughtfully. And then Blair Roberts and a few other people, and Blue. I met Blue Gilliand. Oh my gosh, I'm butchering names, but seriously, I loved meeting everybody. If you ever go to an event where I'm at, please reach out and say hi. So that was a pretty awesome time meeting Robert McCammon, getting the book signed. I'm giddy. We're just going to go here to this like 4-star restaurant and get some food for the road food, but like 4-star road food. Giddy in Birmingham. So at the end of it all, I wanted to share what I got at the signing. Now, I brought 7 books down to get signed, and I felt guilty, but I brought all the ones I could think of to get signed without bringing down like a trunk, you know? And I thought, well, I'll bring them all, and if they tell us we can't get more than 1 or 2 signed, I'll just have to prioritize and make some hard decisions. But better to have them in the vehicle there in Birmingham than to think of them sitting on the shelf when I could have gotten them signed. And as it is, when I went down there and got the ones I needed signed, and then I came back, I realized, wow, I had so many more that I could have brought. I could have been like Tim from It's Terrific, who brought a refrigerator box of books to get signed. Actually, he just backed up a U-Haul. And he dragged Robert McCammon onto the U-Haul, forced him to sign 3,000 books. And I think he's selling them on eBay now. No, he did bring a box, though. But Robert McCammon signed everybody's books, no matter how many you brought. And he didn't rush anybody. In fact, he looked like he wanted to talk more with me. And I didn't know how to handle that. So it was amateur hour for sure. So let me share what I got. The event was totally free. To go and sit and listen to Robert McCammon speak for an hour to get 7 books signed cost me nothing except the gas to go down there. And then, of course, the day, time is an expense, you know. But I wanted to also support the bookstore that held the event. They were not draconian in what you could get Robert McCammon to sign. They weren't policing you to make sure you bought a book. But they said, if you're going to get something signed, please get a book from us or get a book that you want signed, something that we don't already have on the shelves. In other words, don't bring in the books they already have on their shelves, get signed, and squirrel your way out. Support us. And they were such great people, all decent people that were working there. I definitely wanted to support them. So I knew I would get the King of Shadows trade edition from this event. That was a given. So I got the trade edition. It was already signed before I got there. I didn't want to waste any more of Robert's time signing a book I could have already gotten signed there. So I got that. But there were 2 other books that I didn't have the trade editions signed. And one was Cardinal Black from Cemetery Dance. I didn't opt for any Cemetery Dance McCammons after Usher's passing because things had gotten kind of fluey. And since I never collected this series, I passed on it when Cemetery Dance did it. I got it, of course, as a Levidian trade paperback because Brian James Freeman did the smart thing and got us all caught up on the series with one beautiful purchase. So, but when I saw this on the shelf signed, I said, I got to get this. And then this book, Hunter from the Woods, signed, second printing from Subterranean Press, signed first printings, get a lot on eBay. And that was always going to be out of reach for me. But Subpress did a second printing, and there were a handful of these on the shelf, and I jumped on it. I love Wolf's Hour. The signed edition is unfortunately way out of my reach. I'm still looking actually for a hardcover first edition or a paperback that's reasonable priced. I bid on one on eBay, but I made an offer and it was rejected, so I passed on it. $20 for a paperback isn't that bad for Wolf's Hour, but I just can't do it, you know. But that is a book I need in my collection. I think if I'm going to pay $20 or more, I want a hardcover. Naive or foolish, I get it. And I won't be able to read it until I have it. But I got this. This is a collection of stories that feature the main character in Wolf's Hour. Brilliant book. Love that book. So those were the 3 I bought at Alabama Booksmith. As for the 7 I brought there to get signed, you saw them all in my interaction with Robert McCammon, but obviously you couldn't see the titles or unless you blew it up and looked at it. But I'll show them to you now so you don't have to worry about it. The first is that eBay find Speaks the Nightbird. This is a first printing, first edition that I got off of eBay for pretty much the published price. There's the signature. Epic stuff, and nice that I was able to get the first book in the Matthew Corbett series and at an event to see the latest book in the Matthew Corbett series. The next 2 were McKay finds, first editions both. Mine, right here, I'll show you the signature. Boom. And Boy's Life. And to hear him talk, this is a book, I know I've read it once, years ago. I just don't remember it. And maybe I didn't read this one. Maybe I read Gone South. I know I read both of them. I thought I read both of them back to back. But it's been so long, I need to reread or read it because this is a very, very important book to Robert McCammon. When he spoke about it during his talk before the signing, I was sitting there with it in a bag at my feet thinking, wow, am I glad I picked up this book at McKay's to have it here today, because it's obviously a book of great importance to Robert McCammon. And therefore, when an author talks so fondly and emotionally about a book they've written, that is a book a fan of that author should prioritize. So this is going on my TBR pretty high. The next two are Midnight Under the Big Top. It's an anthology, and it contains a Robert McCammon story. This is the numbered edition, limited to 750 signed and numbered copies. This was originally signed by Vincent Chong, Brian James Freeman, and Glenn Chadbourne. But now, as you could see, I asked Robert McCammon to add his signature to the signature sheet, and he did, graciously. So now mine is one of the only that are four. I have four signatures. I do know Hans, friend of the channel, has a Midnight Under the Big Top PC copy signed by Josh Malerman, which I'm very jealous of. And I am determined to get a Josh Malerman signature in this as well, along with Jeff Strand and any other authors I can hunt down to include in this book. Because, as you may recall, much butthurt was expressed by one Beef Daddy about the lack of signatures in the lettered edition. The lettered edition was supposed to be signed by Brian James Freeman, Vincent Chong, and Glenn Chadbourne. And actually, the numbered edition was just supposed to be signed by Brian James Freeman and Glenn Chadbourne. So when they published the numbered edition, it actually had more signatures than promised in all the ones that weren't PC copies, all the actual numbers. And the lettered edition, the more pricey edition, had fewer signatures than promised, which is really aggravating. And the signature sheet is much less elaborate, but you could see with all that real estate, Robert McCammon really had his run of the page. But this takes some of the sting out of that signature page for me now that I have Robert McCammon in there. And the last book I asked him to sign was my copy of Swan Song that I've had since I was 15 years old, and loved it. I got it, I remember the summer of '87. I bought this book. I read it when I was on vacation, and I thought this had to be Stephen King. This had to be another version of The Stand that Stephen King wrote under a pseudonym. But nope. Certainly, I met the guy, so I know he's not Stephen King. And this book obviously is beaten to hell, torn dust jacket, bowed in spine. This actually survived a flood. I had all my books in a duffel bag in my parents' basement, and water got in, and a lot of the books got trashed. That's what actually happened to my Wolf's Hour. I had a Wolf's Hour. That one was totally bloated, and you can't do much. But this just got kissed by the flood. So I held on to it, obvious sentimental reasons, and I've kept it with me all these years. And so when I met him, I said, I've got to get him to sign this one. And he did, and he signed it, and he dated it. This is the only book I brought to him that he dated, even though there were other copies, obvious old editions, Boy's Life, mine, Speaks the Nightbird even, that were not signed near the publication date. Could have been dated to show, there's some time went by. But he didn't do that with those. He did it with this. I don't care. I like it. I dig it when they put the date on there. This is, an authentication. Authentication. Authentication? Do I English? And since they didn't do any special handout or flyer or print like they did when he signed for Cardinal Black, they did a print that was only available at that event. So they didn't do it this time, so I grabbed the business cards that were on display. I grabbed a couple of them to keep with my books as a sort of a COA. You know, very cool. It's the event, and I figured since they were done with the event, they didn't need these reminder cards anymore, so I took a few. Anyway, that's it. I'm glad I did this. If he comes back to Alabama Booksmith, I will be there, of course. I will bring all those books that I forgot to bring this time to have him sign. I encourage you, if you are a fan of Robert McCammon or great authentic storytellers, go check it out if you see him there. I also am looking at the events calendar at Alabama Booksmith to see if they have anybody else coming who I might even be remotely interested in, because the people at Alabama Booksmith were such great souls, and I love supporting bookstores like that. And one of the best things is meeting the people at the events. Some of the best people, they share this love of books and the love of the written word. Thanks for sharing the trip with me. If you want to see the speech, the talk Robert McCammon gave at the event, it is on YouTube. I can link to it. I'll try to find it, and I'll drop that in the description so you can see the full hour. There are a couple out there, and some of the quality's not all that good, so you got to kind of turn it up to hear Robert McCammon. But he... You can see the whole thing, and it's really a great event, and I encourage you to watch the full hour. But until we meet at a bookstore or an event or just here again on the channel, thank you for joining me on this little journey, and wherever you end up, stay frosty.